Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the third in a three-part series to meet our student services staff on the Orillia campus. I'm happy that everyone's come. If you're comfortable with it, if you don't mind turning your video on, we're hoping to have this as a meet faces and a bit of an introduction to our services. So again, not required, but if you are comfortable turning your video on for either the presentation and or the Q&A part of this presentation, it would be great to see your faces. So that you know we are recording this so that we can distribute to other students who weren't able to attend today. So also being aware of that little fact. So I'll just start us off here with a quick introduction to our staff that you'll hear from today. But first I'll let you know how this session will work. So after introductions, each of our staff members will just do a little presentation about the services that our departments respectively offer. And then we will open it up to a live Q&A. There were some questions submitted ahead of time. You did have that opportunity when registering, but if you do have questions after hearing our presentations, we encourage you to ask those live. So you can either unmute yourself and ask those questions, have a bit of a conversation, or you can type those in the chat. So I'll start off though by introducing myself and our team. My name is Kayla Van Weert and I'm the Student Success Advisor for you in Orillia. You'll learn a bit more about what I do during my presentation, but for now, this is who I am and I'll pass it over to Jessie.
Perfect, thanks Kayla. So my name's Jessie Clark and I'm the Student Central Professional at the Orillia campus. Again, Melanie and I are going to present some slides a little bit later to tell you more about what we do, but happy to have you joining us for September and glad we have this opportunity to chat.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie Oakes. I'm the Enrolment Services Professional on the Lakehead Orillia campus. I'm just glad to see you all here today.
My name is Chris Tomasini. I'm the, it says online learning librarian. More practically, I'm the Orillia campus librarian. I hope the library can help you out in 2020, 2021.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm a student at Lakehead in the education program and right now working in the Student Success Center as the Student Success Assistant.
Great, thanks everyone. So before we get started on our presentation, we did just want to pop this slide up here for you. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing you on campus first thing in September as we normally would, but we did want to just give you a bit of a visual of what our two campuses in Orillia look like. So for those of you that are education students, you will be joining Rachel and she does her classes mostly at our downtown Heritage Place location. And then for anyone in an undergraduate program, hopefully you'll be joining us soon at the Orillia campus, and that is the photograph on the right. So Student Success Center, this would be Rachel and I. Rachel will be continuing with us through the fall, so hopefully you get to meet her through some of our programming. But essentially we do a few different things. So the first would be orientation. This is part of your virtual orientation this year to Lakehead, but there are a lot of other virtual ways to get involved. So anything from the D2L 5-part orientation course, which is live now on your My Course link, to the Student Success app that you can download through your phone, and the virtual orientation events. Those are all happening starting now, and there were some throughout the summer. So I've popped that link up there to our student/orientation page. If you're interested, I highly recommend going there at some point throughout the presentation or afterwards to see what other great events we have planned for you. There's also a lot of information on there, frequently asked questions from other departments. So everything you need to know is on that. In terms of academic skills, this is another service offered through the Student Success Center. So we do have our academic support zone. This is a physical space on campus that will be paralleled through virtual options this September through December, but it is where our students come for academic supports. So things like workshops on academic skill building, time management, online learning, exam preparation, and more. Also one-on-one or small group meetings with a student success advisor, so that would be me, or one of our writing coaches or program tutors. A little bit of information on the tutoring program. We don't offer course-specific tutoring, but we do offer program-specific tutoring. So if you're in business, you can meet with one of our business tutors. They might not do the specific course, but they should be able to help you out. And the writing coach, this would be an ad appointment service for you. So you can book through My Success with a writing coach to help you with anything from how to research to start your paper, to building your citations, to grammar and structure. The only thing our writing coach doesn't do is proofread and edit. We do like to have our students work with our writing coach to create what you're writing. And these programs are available throughout the academic year. So the final service that we have through the Student Success Center is our career services. So we do have a career zone. This also exists virtually for the fall semester, and this is where our free career support services take place. So different options that we have for you are job search skills. So we do have resume, cover letter, job interview preparation. We are subscribed to a program called Big Interview, where you can get this service for free using your Lakehead email address and use that to build some skills, create your resume, practice some interview questions with different career-specific direction. But you can also meet with an advisor to discuss these things as well. Career interest assessment. So we do offer the strong interest inventory to determine your career path. Occupational educational exploration. So we offer a lot of resources on where you'd like to go with your degree, what that degree can offer you, and where you should go next, whether that's grad school or the workforce. And then finally, we do have career and job fairs. So this October, the final week of October, we will be running a virtual career fair. And our theme this year is Get Hired. So we know that right now students are having maybe a bit of a harder time than usual finding jobs. So we are inviting employers who have real job opportunities to meet with you virtually and hopefully get some of our students hired this year. And then I just threw up our contact information. If you do have questions about orientation, anything from our virtual events and how to get connected with other students or staff, you can email orillia.orientation@lakeheadu.ca. And then for anything else, academic or career support, that is my email address and my phone number. So if you do have specific questions, you can get in touch with me. And then I threw up our download the app over there on the right. So I do highly encourage that you download the app. All of our success programming will be on that platform. So all of our events will be listed there, as well as ways to get in touch with other departments. And I will pass it over to Jessie and Melanie.
Perfect. Thanks, Kayla. I'm going to kind of present the first part, and then Melanie's going to come in and talk a little bit more about financial aid. The first area that's under our portfolio is enrollment services. And some students wonder what that means. We're going to kind of tell you ways that we can help you and connect with you, and some services that you might come and see us about virtually, or email us or talk to us on the phone about. So if you just want to head to the next slide there, Kayla. So under enrollment services, some students call us academic advisors, or if you're coming from high school, you might kind of equate us to like a guidance counselor type role or things like that. So as part of enrollment services in our portfolio there, we help students with things such as course registration. So hopefully by this point, we've all registered for courses for your first year at Lakehead. But if you haven't registered for courses, if you need any help with that, that's something that our department can assist you in terms of making sure you're in the right courses and have a spot in the right number of courses. We also help students with major minor exploration. So if a student's maybe thinking, sometimes when you come into first year, you take an elective and you suddenly really enjoy that, and maybe you want to major in it or look at what options are available for other programs, or if you're in a 4-year program, maybe you want to add a minor to that. So we have lots of discussions with students about just exploring other programs they may be interested in if that's the case. Also kind of going through the academic calendar, so making sure students are aware of their program requirements through our academic calendar. And I'll just keep saying that word because the academic calendar is a great resource. So I encourage all students to kind of have that in their toolbar. But yeah, kind of understanding what's required year by year for your program to make sure that you're on track to graduate and are meeting the course and average requirements for your program. And then kind of along that line, program changes. So if a student does decide that they want to maybe pursue a different major or something like that, we can help walk you through that program change process and lots of other things. So we meet with students kind of all the time about those academic advising type of conversations. So I'll pass it over. Melanie's going to talk about another part about portfolio financial aid.
Yeah. So for financial aid, that's really what resources you have available to you as a Lakehead student to fund your education. So students would connect with us for OSAP inquiries. So if you apply to OSAP, if you're wondering whether or not you're eligible, you can connect with us. Another example would be, what are my required documents for OSAP? Do I have the correct documents in my application, things like that. So we can go into your OSAP application and take a look and see what's going on. And I can say, yep, you're all good to go and your funding is being released, or nope, this document is required, and I can help you through that as well. We look over scholarship, bursary, and awards. So that kind of goes with the next point with our My Awards portal. So between August 15th and October 15th every year, a majority of our opportunities for scholarship, bursary, and awards open up on that My Awards portal. And the next couple slides, I'll show you how to access that, because you may not know where to go. So that might be a helpful thing for you to know. And the last thing that we really do is helping with you financing and budgeting. So again, understanding how you are going to fund your education, maybe not even just this year, but moving forward, what is available to you. So on the next slide, I did some screenshots for you. So when you log into your MyInfo account, you're going to click on the left-hand side for the student tab. And to get to My Awards, you would scroll all the way down to the bottom. And on the left-hand side, there's a heading that's Financial Aid and Awards. And the very last function there is My Awards. So when you click on that, it'll open up a new tab for you. So in the next slide, it'll show you exactly what My Awards looks like. And then you would log in. So there'll be a student tab. Kayla, if you want to move to the next slide. Yeah, so there's a student tab. So you sign in there, you create a student profile. And then from there, it's a really nifty system, actually. It based on what you indicate in your student profile, our system will then filter what you're eligible for potentially based on that. So it's really nice, actually, because when I first started here at Lakehead, it was all paper-based. So I would have to go through myself and see what I was eligible for. So it's definitely a great resource for us as students now. So if you have any questions about the My Awards portal, you can connect with us. So our contact information is on the next slide here. So we have two different portfolios here, Enrolment Services and Financial Aid. So for Enrolment Services, you can connect with us with OSA at lakeheadu.ca. For Financial Aid, you would want to connect with ORFinaid at lakeheadu.ca, but it's the same phone number and you can reach us from there.
Thanks, Melanie and Jesse, for sharing that information. I will pass it over to Chris now to talk about the library services.
So my name is Chris Tomasini. I'm the Orillia campus librarian. If you want to just go to the next slide, Kayla. So the library has two locations in Orillia. In the library, we sometimes joke that we're a satellite library with our own satellite here in Orillia. So there's, I think, 3 separate buildings up north in Thunder Bay for the library. In Orillia, we have 2. So the Harvey Legacy Library is the name of the one at University Avenue. And the Orillia Education Library is the one that serves the education program in downtown Orillia. And in normal times, we staff both of them, and they're open through the day when your classes are on. So my coworkers are Kim Valley and Jason Lambert, and I'm Chris. Next slide. So where you would see me usually in the fall is professors would ask me to come to class and do a 20-minute, half an hour workshop on doing research for the assignments that they're going to give you that year. So I go in and show you how to use the book catalog and use article databases and some tools for citing your essays. So that's what I usually do in person. The way it's working this year is professors are asking me to either attend their class via Zoom or create kind of library research how-to documents in their D2L course site. And in some cases, I'm doing videos. So for a couple of education classes, I'm doing a video of me more or less doing my workshop of how to do research. And that video will be inside your D2L, and you'll be able to click on it and watch it whenever you want to. So one service that we provide is the research help that you need when a prof gives you your course outline and you have an essay assignment that says something like back up your essay with 3 books and 4 peer-reviewed articles and 2 websites. So my job, or what you could use me for, and I encourage you to do so, is to come ask Chris, so how do I find these books and these 4 peer-reviewed articles that my professor wants me to use? use. And that's definitely my bread and butter and definitely how I can help you. So in normal times, you could come to our desk and I would help you face to face. The way that we'll provide support this year, or this term anyway, is by Zoom. So if you email me, I can set up a Zoom meeting and we can talk over Zoom and share screens, and I can show you how to use the website. And then email, phone, Google Chat, and Ask can be used as well. So what Ask is, when you're on the library website, you can either navigate to Ask, or sometimes you'll see little pop-up windows show up. Basically, Ask is chatting with a librarian. So a little window will come up and say, hey, do you need help? And if you click on it and say yes, you'll end up chatting with a librarian. Not necessarily a Lakehead librarian, but a librarian at an Ontario university who can help you navigate the library website and answer your questions. Now, print is somewhat problematic to access this year, but we have oodles and oodles of e-resources for you to use. All of the articles are electronic anyway, and they have been for years now. So please find 5 peer-reviewed articles. Note that you might see in the course outline, that's all electronic anyway. Even books, we have easily over 150,000 ebooks in the catalog, and the number might be actually way higher now. So there's lots of e-resources to help support your research. And at the very least, we'll be doing curbside pickup for print items. So we've been doing curbside all summer. So if you want a book from Thunder Bay, if you want a book from the Orillia Education Library, you use our website, ask for the book to be put on hold for you. And the pickups have been at the Harvey Legacy Library at University Avenue. So we've been doing that all summer, and we'll still be doing that in the fall. And we're not sure when we're going to transition to actual face-to-face signing books out. Next slide, Gayla. Okay, so this is a quick shot of the library website. You can find this just by Googling Lakehead Library, and you'll get here pretty easily. There's a few things on this page, but the two I want to point out primarily, the upper left arrow is pointing at our main search tool at Lakehead. It's called Omni. So there's that getting started with Omni link. You can check and read that. And basically Omni searches our book catalog and all of our databases all at once. So if you typed in COVID-19 and workplace safety, you would be getting a big mix of books and articles and newspaper stories and maybe documentaries. You'd be getting a mix of a whole bunch of stuff that you could look through and see which ones you want. Now the bottom right arrow, so the top thing is our search catalog basically. And if you contact me, I can walk you through, I can do a tutorial with you of using the search catalog. The lower left arrow is pointing at the liaison librarians link. So in a slide or two, I'm going to give you my email address. But if you ever want to, you don't necessarily need to talk to me. If you're in social work, if you're in education, if you're in business, you could click that liaison librarians link, and that will take you to a list of the librarians at Lakehead who handle different subject areas. So if you're in business, you could click that. You'll find out that Madeline is the business librarian, and you could arrange a meeting with Madeline for some research help if you want to. And actually, just before I leave this, Kayla, you can't see it, but under Support My Learning, another bullet point or two down, there's a streaming media section, and that's our list of things called Canopy, the National Film Board, Criterion. So these are movies and documentaries you can access as a Lakehead student. Some are actual Hollywood feature films, and many of them are documentaries. Next slide, Gail. And yeah, so my email is there. So mainly you would contact me for research help. So Chris, my prof, wants me to do X, Y, Z. Can you help me? Can you teach me how to do that? And I'll be happy to do that. The ORLib address might be more if you heard the name of a certain book and you want to see if Lakehead has it. You could contact that address to see if we have that book. Actually, any questions at all. So me more for research help. The ORLib address for anything that might be related to the library. So we have Facebook and Twitter. You can call us if you want to. And before I forget, if you're all in first year or the early years, there's a tool called Zotero, Z-O-T-E-R-O. It's kind of hard to describe, but it makes your life doing research as a university student very, 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 very easy. It's a great tool to know about it. It's free. If you go to YouTube and type in something like how to use Zotero, it's basically, it's a research support tool that helps you do research basically. And it will also do your bibliography for you in about 5 seconds. So if you have 20 articles that you want to put into a bibliography and you use Zotero, Zotero can do it for you really well, not perfectly, but really well in like 5 seconds. And you just need to know APA or MLA or Chicago well enough to proofread what Zotero gives to you. And I think that's it for me. But during the school year, I love meeting students. It's one of the best parts of my job. So I'd be very happy for you to email me and ask me questions, and it'd be nice to get to know you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And I did just want to reiterate that a big part of why we're doing this is because that chance to meet students in person won't be possible, at least for September, throughout the fall semester. So I know that was the theme. This is the third part in a series of meeting our support staff for students, and that was the general consensus that we're excited to meet you, we're excited to welcome you on campus, and we're hoping that you reach out to us and ask questions over the semester. And on that note, that is a good leeway into this portion of our webinar today, which is a live Q&A. So I'm just going to leave it for a couple of moments just to give you a chance to really think about if you have questions for our team. So anything from Enrollment Services to our Student Success Services to the library and how to access that online. We're here to answer those questions. So we did receive some ahead of time, but I did just want to give a few moments for you to think if those there are questions you'd like to ask live today. And you can either put a hand up or unmute yourself if you do have a question to ask. Okay, I do have a question here about how do I get access to our Zoom classes? So I think Jesse or Melanie, I'll turn that one over to you if you don't mind.
So I presume the question is asking how would you get access to the classes, like to attend your courses? I guess that's up to the professor and how they would facilitate your course. Most likely they would be posting that through your My Course Link course. So there's a link through your My Info account. If you log in, there's a My Course Link link. And from there you can go in and all of your courses would be posted there. And then you can access all the course material that your professor has posted and things like that. Some professors don't post until the day of. So sometimes they don't really open the course until September 8th when classes start. You should only see your fall and year-long classes at this point in time anyways. But when you log in, you should be able to see that information there. And if you can't, then I would recommend that you connect with your professor.
Thanks, Melanie. Okay. So while I wait to see if students have any other live questions, I will go to some of our questions that we received through email. So Chris, this one is for you, and you did touch a little bit on this, on how to access textbooks, but the student is wondering if the library provides access to textbooks specific to courses. So course material that's required for a class, is that available at the library?
So actual textbooks, not usually. The library sometimes has the actual textbook for a course on like 2-hour loan or 1-day loan, but that's rare. The libraries would go broke if they try to have every textbook for every class, so we just don't try. Now what we do have, so you can ask us if you want to, you could email that ORLib address, or you could check our Omni catalog yourself and check the titles. It doesn't hurt to check our catalog to see if we have some. Sometimes we'll have older editions that might be good enough and might save you $100. So especially if you're in the social sciences, we might have or chemistry or physics, we might have a textbook from an edition or two ago. But anyway, what we more usually have is professors will want to make sure that there's certain readings that you've done. So we'll do what are called reserves. And this year, and actually it's been done before anyway, in your D2L course site, there'll often be a library reserves kind of module on the left side. And if you click in there, you'll see all the articles and book chapters that your professor wants you to read. And either they've put them in there or they've told us and we've put them in there for you. So Sometimes, but more usually not, do we have the actual textbooks, but we do help with reserve readings. And in some cases, that's meant that we've bought copyright clearance to put certain book chapters inside that, that library reserves module.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. I have a question for Enrolment Services. And students are asking, what is the difference between full-time and part-time study? And is there anything that students should know now that classes are virtual in terms of full-time study and course load?
Yeah, so I can kind of start us off, and if Melanie wants to add anything, feel free. So there's a nice page actually on the website that does explain full-time, part-time under the Student Central website, but kind of in general terms, typically for most programs, if a student's in 3.5 full course equivalents, so you'll hear us talk FCE language a lot. So FCE stands for full course equivalent. And in typical programs, a year-long course that runs September through April is usually 1 FCE. Again, there's some exceptions. I always say typically. And usually if it's just a fall course or a winter course, it's typically a 0.5 FCE, so half credit. So students do register for the whole year. So they register for their fall and winter courses. So if you've only registered for fall, make sure you go on and register for winter, because we are kind of looking at the whole year when we talk about full-time, part-time in enrollment services, and for OSAP purposes too. So typically 3.5 FCEs or less is part-time status, and then a student gets charged part-time fees. So they're charged per course fees. So you would probably see too, another indicator would be your fees would be different because you'd be charged per course that you're registered in. And then generally 3.75 FCs or greater, which we typically say 4 FCs, but we used to have, and we still have a few quarter credits kicking around, some 0.25s, but so 3.75 FCs or greater is what we consider full-time, and then a student gets charged flat rate full-time tuition. So when you're looking at the tuition page, undergraduate fees, you would see the full-time rate, and that's what you would be charged if you're in 4 FCs, 4.5 FCs, 5 FCs. It's kind of that flat rate tuition. Most programs, a typical course load per year is 5 full course equivalents. So technically you could be in 4 FCs and still be full-time, but you might not be taking all the courses that are required for the first year of your program. There are a few programs such as engineering and things like that that do have a higher typical course load, so that students are required to take more FCs as just part of their program. So if you are unsure, definitely reach out and connect with us, and we can make sure we tell you exactly for your program. But for the majority of programs, again, 3.75 FCs or greater full-time, 3.5 FCs or less part-time, and a typical course year is 5 FCs. So if you're wondering about that, connect with us. We usually encourage students to build balance schedules too, so that they're kind of in the same number of courses in the fall and the winter. Some programs do have a slightly different breakdown, but that hopefully kind of answers the question. I don't know if Melanie wants to add anything I missed there, but.
I did just put the link because Jess was like, oh, this is a nice page. It is definitely a nice page that outlines everything. I'll just jump in and say, because it kind of goes hand in hand with what Jessie was saying, that full-time and part-time, what Jess is talking about is Lakehead standards, and OSAP has different standards for full-time and part-time studies. So you could be part-time with Lakehead, but still considered full-time with OSAP. So if you have questions about that, you're welcome to connect with us. It's also on that page there. So if you're curious, check it out and then send us an email if you have more questions.
That's a great point. There are different standards for OSAP, so for financial aid versus Lakehead. So if you're in that kind of boat where maybe you're not taking a full course load for your program and you're not sure, definitely connect with us, and we can tell you those differences. And they're outlined on that page as well for OSAP. Thanks.
That's great, thanks. And I will just mention, if you are an international student studying on a study permit, the status, the full-time or part-time, will be based on your Lakehead full-time or part-time status. I know that question sometimes comes up. So although different for OSAP, not different for your study permit requirements. And then I will actually take the next question. There is a question here saying a student got an email about applying to jobs at Lakehead. So I'm not sure what the email was, but I did just want to speak to the work study program. That wasn't something mentioned here. We kind of all take a piece of that, but I'll put a pitch out there now. We do hire students through our departments. This year, obviously, we will be asking students to work remotely. So we do have those opportunities for students. And then if you are looking for assistance with applying to jobs, whether at Lakehead or in the communities that you're living in this year, that would be a service that you can access through the Student Success Center. So we do have resources online through our career zone, but you can also meet with me or one of our peer reviewers for resume reviews and assist you there. If you are looking specifically for jobs, again, I encourage you to come to our virtual career fair in October, where employers will be available and have jobs that they're looking to fill. And then, yeah, if you have questions from that point on, you can always touch base with me. And then I actually, pardon?
I was gonna say, I think you mentioned about the work study program is open right now. So you may have gotten an email to do with that. If somebody got a specific email about jobs, there was some outreach done for the work study program. It's also a link on my info. So it's a great way to fund your education as well as the work study program. And like Kayla said, most departments have jobs posted on there. Right now we have an Enrolment Services assistant job on there, and there's lots of other departments that also will have a role. So that's something students can apply to now before school is even starting. So a good thing to keep in mind if you're looking for that work opportunity and some hours in between, you know, your Zoom classes or just some hours that you can work each week. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I appreciate that. It's always good to know that there are opportunities available to students, and that's open right now. So if you receive that email, that would all be on, I don't know if you said that, through My Success, where you can apply to those jobs. And I'll put that link in the chat. On that note, actually, I just want to pass it over to Rachel and ask if there are specific services that you've accessed as a student at Lakehead. I know that you started as a student in an undergraduate program, and now you're in the 2-year professional education program. So between those two programs, is there anything you wanted to mention about services that you've accessed?
Yeah, so as a student at Lakehead over the past few years, I've probably accessed all the ones we're talking about today at some point. When I first started at Lakehead, I started as a transfer student. So the most important one for me at that time was academic advising. I was coming from another school in another program, and I had no idea what Lakehead's program standards were. So I accessed academic advising probably twice a year for the first 2 years, just to like guarantee I was on track with my courses, I was in the right path for my program, and I wasn't missing anything. I know there's a lot of questions about program requirements throughout the years, and it can get kind of confusing with electives and all the different options. So I definitely recommend, especially for first year students, if you're kind of confused about your program or what you're supposed to be taking or what your next few years might look like, access this service and don't be afraid to go multiple times because they always have the answers, and it was super helpful. Ideally, it's better to go in person. That's what I did. So in this case, I would schedule a Zoom meeting and actually physically talk to the person, because it, again, through email can get quite confusing with all the different terminology. So to directly talk to someone like Jessie and get your program laid out for you in one sitting is super helpful. So although all the services are super helpful, I'm part of work study right now. I use the library all the time. You're going to use them all at some point. If you're confused, that's the one I would definitely recommend going to sooner rather than later.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for sharing. It is always good to hear that students are accessing our services, and it's always a good idea to do that early so you're on track instead of waiting until it's never too late, but there's always a better time earlier in the semester or earlier in your undergraduate program. I do see a raised hand. Azam, I will pass it over to you if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Hello. Excuse me, yesterday I was really confused about how to access the email of the professors of the university, because I thought today should be the first day of the school, and I didn't know it's going to be started from next week. So I was wondering if you can tell me how I can access the email if I just want to ask and just talk to my chat with my professor directly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So I'll take, I think you said you were under the impression that classes were beginning this week.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said. Yeah. So classes do actually start on September 8th. We're a little bit later this year just because of when our Labor Day weekend falls. So you haven't missed anything yet. September 8th is the date that we start. And then maybe I'll pass it over, Jesse, if you don't mind taking that on how to connect with professors, maybe touch on email and D2L.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So the one way would be through your My Course link. So kind of as Melanie was talking about earlier, most courses will have that site on D2L on your My Course link. And then the professor, they have usually a My Course link email, so a way that you connect directly through them through your course link. So when you're in there, you can directly message the professor through that. All professors would also have a Lakehead email. So you could also email like through your main Lakehead account. Usually a professor will kind of give you their preference, like whether they prefer that you're emailing them through your My Course link. So when you're logged into that course and My Course link, messaging through them that site, or if they prefer that you send it to their main Lakehead email. You probably don't have access right now to your My Course link site. So if you're looking to contact them ahead of time, probably email right now would be easier. So most professors are in the directory. So if you are on the main page, lakeheadu.ca, the easiest way to probably access the directory, I think there's a direct link at the bottom left-hand corner. So if you scroll down, there's a to Z directory, and there's a faculty staff directory that you can type in their name and see if they pop up, and that would give you all their contact information, so their phone number, their email, and their office number if we were in person. Sometimes you might not see a professor on there if they're only teaching a course or two, like if they're a contract lecturer, then you may not. Oh, Melanie's got my back. She just posts things that I talk about before I can even think about it. So Melanie's posted the link right there to the faculty and staff directory. If for some reason you don't see them on there, then I usually recommend contacting the admin assistant for that department, and they can give you the email for that person. So like I said, most faculty would be on there, but if you don't see them, maybe they're a new contract lecturer for this year, then I would just email the admin assistant to get that contact, because everybody would have a Lakehead email.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Jesse. I have a question here for Chris. I know you touched on Zotero quickly, but I do have a student here asking what important things they can use that for. So maybe if you don't mind just expanding a little bit on that.
Yeah, okay, so Zotero isn't necessarily a Lakehead thing. It's an academic tool that students across the world use. It's a free tool. It's an open access free tool. You download two parts if you want to use it. One's a little plugin that goes into your browser, and the other part's kind of like an archive that sits on your desktop. So let's say that you are doing research and on whatever, I don't know, well, COVID-19, and you go into this database, that database, Omni, you're searching across websites. So you're saving a PDF here, a PDF there, a website there. You've got stuff bookmarked. You've got PDF files on your desktop. So that's the way most students work. They just save stuff whatever their habits is. What Zotero does, if you have Zotero in your browser, every time you see something that you like, either a website, a YouTube video, an article in an academic library database, you click the Zotero Save button, and Zotero will save that PDF or that website or that video for you, and it'll go into, let's say, the COVID-19 folder you created in Zotero. So as you do 2 or 3 days worth of research, you end up putting all these resources into your COVID-19 folder in Zotero. So then when you're ready, you open up Zotero, you click on your COVID-19 folder, and you've got all these articles and websites and videos that you saved, and you just double click each one, and the PDF or the website will pop open for you because Zotero has saved everything, including the PDFs. So the one big key thing for Zotero is its organizational ability. One-click shopping, and you save that PDF or that website into your Zotero account. So, and then you have this ease of access because it saved everything, a nice uncluttered, a nice filing system for how you save these resources. And especially with the PDFs in an academic library database, the fact that it can see and find these PDFs for you and put them into your Zotero folder is really handy. But in a class, when I demo this in classes, the thing that makes people's eyes usually really kind of light up is when I seriously do about 5 clicks and I've got a full bibliography done for me in whatever style, MLA, APA, Chicago that I chose. So now again, and I always say this in the classes, Zotero is good, and these other tools that do the same thing are good, but you have to know APA, MLA, Chicago well enough to proofread what they generate for you, because they're not perfect. You still need to be able to know APA well enough to proofread it, but they get you 95% of the way home in 2 seconds. So that's Zotero in a minute. But seriously, there's lots of videos on YouTube about how to use it, and I'm happy to help you as well if you want to email me.
Thanks, Chris. I learned something. I didn't know that that was a tool that existed. Had I known during my undergrad, I probably could have saved myself a lot of hours of doing that reference sheet. So thank you for sharing. And we'll put that resource out with the recording of this video as well. Okay, let's see. I'll go to one of our pre-asked questions. I don't see any more in the chat right now, but you're so welcome. We have about 14 minutes left. So if you do have other questions, I encourage you to ask them. Let's see. I do have a student who was asking about funding opportunities as a Lakehead student. So I know you touched on OSAP and my awards, but I'm wondering, apart from those two, if there are any other funding opportunities for students at Lakehead. I'll pass it maybe over to Melanie for that one.
Yeah. So the other thing that we were talking about was the student work program, which is a great way to fund your education. So depending on the position, it's about 10 hours a week, and it's working around your schedule, and that's a great way to fund your education. I'm an alumni of Lakehead, and I worked with the student work program for 2 years, and it was a great way to make some money, and obviously it was a great way to make connections as well, because I'm still here kicking around after I've graduated. Other than that, there's also external opportunities. Aside from OSAP, it depends on where you're coming from, so sometimes different provinces have different funding opportunities that are similar to OSAP, as well as international opportunities. So if you need some help with Lakehead opportunities, feel free to connect with us, as well as I would really encourage you to look at external opportunities. There's different websites that kind of combine everything together for you that you can kind of search through, kind of like our My Awards portal as well. If Jessie has anything else that she can think of, so I'll pass it over to her, but yeah.
No, it's really kind of the main ones. Again, looking at, OSAP or your provincial funding, My Awards. There's lots of like external scholarships and bursaries. One that I've seen before different years over the time is like, Legions or something. You might have a family member, somebody related to you that's part of an organization that gives a scholarship or bursary for employees, family members, or direct children or whatever. So those are often great opportunities. I see students that have outreach through their parents or their relatives or family member employers. So there's lots of great opportunities externally as well. So don't discount those. Make sure you're kind of asking your family members if anything like that exists. And then really just plugging My Awards. Like there's so many times that we see different scholarships or different awards that go unawarded because nobody applies. There's all kinds of different criteria. So not all of them are solely based on academic achievement or grades. Some of them are, based on community involvement. Maybe it's based on, it's the Alan Monroe Poetry Prize. So maybe it's submitting a piece of poetry, or maybe it's submitting something else. And Melanie's heard this before, but I often tell students, like if it takes, even if you're writing an essay or you're filling out that application, it takes 2 hours, and let's say it's a $500 award. Well, $250 per hour, that's pretty darn good paying job. So it's worth that time and investment. And often you can reuse parts of those, right? So if you kind of catalog your past achievements and things that you've gotten involved in over your time, once you kind of create that file of all your different achievements, it kind of becomes a matter of just customizing for each application that you're doing. So often that My Awards, like Melanie said, there's a student profile and it searches the whole database. There's usually around, I think, probably around 800 different scholarships, awards, and bursaries in that database. And it pulls things that you might be eligible for. So really it's up to you to then apply for as many as you can. So I would encourage you to look through there and actually start filling out multiple ones, because every little bit helps. There's some main ones. So the fall winter bursary is the one I'll point out, because That's one that's really based on financial need that's awarded to the most students. So a number of students get awarded that in various amounts depending on their financial need. So that's kind of for mature students. For second degree students, that's a kind of a key one that we point out is that fall winter bursary that you'll see in my awards. But there's all kinds of other ones, open to somebody interested in dance, or all different kinds of program specific and different criteria. So don't discount that. And that was kind of your window of time to do that, because anything you get awarded from that August 15th to October 15th timeline would then be applied to your winter fees. So it would help to go towards what's remaining owing. And I'll put in a little plug is that don't forget about my awards come spring, because there's a returning student bursary, for instance, and some opportunities that are available in the spring. So if you're coming back to Lakehead for next year, and we hope you are, there's the returning student bursary, and that comes open like March to June. So always keep that in your mind at different points in the cycle too. That's all there. Out for some more questions.
That's great. Thanks, Jessie. And I will actually use that as an opportunity to plug two different things. One is to follow our social media accounts, and maybe Melanie, you can pop that in the chat there. When those portals do come open with new awards that are available, we will make those posts available to students. So you'll get an email about it, but we will also advertise that on our accounts. So if you're following that, then you won't miss any opportunities for different funding options, as well as our programming will be on that as well. And then also, Jessie mentioned just keeping track of the sort of volunteer opportunities and experiences that you've had. And we do actually offer a way for you to do that. If you're volunteering within Lakehead or within the community of Orillia during your 4 years or more at Lakehead, you can use what we call our co-curricular record. So you can add positions. Some of them exist already. Some of them you would put those in to have them approved. But any positions that you have that are volunteer based or leadership based, you can add them to your record. And then when you're done here at the end of your degree, you can download that, have it for employers, for example, but you can also use it as a way to just track the opportunities and the experiences that you have to either put those on your resume or use them in your applications for different awards and scholarships. Thanks, Melanie. Perfect. Okay. And then we have a few more minutes here. So I did get a question that I will pass over to Chris. So we've done a lot about talking about virtual options for the fall and virtual programming, but there is a student wondering if there will be the option to use in-person campus spaces and specifically study spaces. So will the library be open this fall for students to study on campus?
Okay, so the downtown Orillia Education Campus is basically going to be closed this fall. So there wouldn't be student access to the downtown education faculty or library. At the University Avenue location at the Harvey Legacy Library, the big open space there is called the Orsi Family Learning Commons. So I checked with our security staff, and it sounds like the Learning Commons at University Avenue will be open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. this fall for students to access to use. Now I'm pretty darn sure that the computer lab will be closed and that the study rooms down the one long corridor will be closed this fall. But you would have access to the commons. There's lots of different seating in the commons, including study carrels, and you'd have access to the computers that are along the big high windows. If you did a tour of Lakehead, and you saw those really nice windows out the south side, those computers will be open to use. So this fall, really just the Orsi Family Learning Commons at University Avenue is the study space. And I'll just mention that when you're here in normal times, we also have the Alumni Commons on the second floor at University Avenue, and that's a silent study space. But anyway, this fall, the Learning Commons at University Avenue.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. It's always good to know what's available on campus, and I appreciate you sharing that. Looks like Gabriel has a question, or Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, okay, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I just had a question because I was on my course link, and I don't know if everybody's on the same page as this, but none of my professors have opened their classes yet. So I have just the orientation link and essentially just none of the other classes. So far though, as one of my friends, he's also going to this school and he's kind of on the same page as I. And yeah, we're just kind of like everybody getting their classes yet, or what's going on?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned earlier, some professors choose not to open their course until the first day of classes. So the
Okay.
first day of classes is a week away, which I cannot believe.
That's
So if you
crazy.
don't see them right now, you really shouldn't panic too much, because I would presume a lot of professors who have been doing in person for a long time are trying to get their courses in order for September 8th.
Yeah.
So you may not see that until the first day of classes. If by chance on the first day of classes you go in and you don't see it, then I would connect with your professor and say, hey, I can't see my course link. Let's say your course starts, if you have a Zoom course and it's Wednesday, Friday, they may not open it until next Wednesday, which is September 9th. So just encouraging you to connect with your professor if you don't see that course,
Okay.
and then they should be able to add you in and make that visible for you.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
That's awesome. Thanks, Melanie, for answering that. And for that question, I think a lot of students have had that question. So it's always good to have those be asked for everyone to get those answers to them. And I mean, that's pretty important that you have access to your courses by the first day of that course. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? We have a few more minutes here. And again, we're available afterwards as well if you need to connect with us through email or through the phone. You can contact us anytime.
I'll just jump in on that previous question. I have a couple of my courses on my course link right now, but you're probably going to get your profs posting the course and opening it up. If you go in and there's no content on it at all, that's completely normal. Don't think, oh my gosh, they opened it and I can't get anything. I have had that numerous times, like, oh, the course is there, you click on it, there's nothing in it. Profs will continue to add stuff all year long, so that just means that they haven't added it in, but they will, so don't worry if you see that.
Okay, yeah. So right now, though, just looking at my screen, I only have the orientation link, and then that's it. But no, I'm just expecting something for now. I'm just to take it easy day by day. You know how it goes.
That's probably best. Don't panic yourself too much on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty normal, that there are quite a few classes that haven't appeared yet on the My Course link. So I think Rachel is in her second year of a 2-year program, so maybe some of those are available, but I suspect most of those first year courses are not available to students yet. So a few more days, hopefully they show up to you. Yeah, there's a couple students just responding here in the chat, and the consensus seems to be that for students who are seeing courses, they've only actually seen one, and then a lot of students are only seeing that orientation course as well.
Yeah. And
so
also, I'm first year too. Like, this is my first time coming to university, so just clean slate. That's how it is.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. I'm glad to participate. I'm excited for this semester.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Maybe Melanie, I'll pass it over to you. I don't have any more questions. So again, I want to stress, if you have questions past this webinar, this is not the only chance to ask them. So this is who we are. You know us now, and we're happy if you reach out to us and ask questions. But for now, I'll turn it over to Melanie just to share a bit of, I think it's an orientation story, and have you participate in a little activity before we go here.
Cool. If you've been in some of our webinars over the past couple of weeks, you've probably heard a variation of this story. To give you context, if you didn't catch it, I am an alumni of Lakehead University. I graduated this past spring, so in 2020, and wanting to share something with you that's pretty near and dear to a lot of our Thunderwolves hearts, especially on the Orillia campus. This was introduced to me when I was in orientation in 2016. But legend has it that this started way before that with sporting events. So Every year we have a hockey game with Georgian College, and we have a pretty good rivalry with them. And that crowd can get pretty rowdy and sometimes unsportsmanlike, I guess. And as Lakehead Thunderwolves, we do pride ourselves in being respectful and being kind. And so that's where the Silent Thunderwolf came in. So to do the Silent Thunderwolf, I'll make sure you can see my hand. So you'll take your thumb, and then you take your 2 middle fingers, and that makes a Silent Thunderwolf. So we use that in situations where we want to show respect, be kind to one another. You'd see it during orientation to bond with upper year students. So I'm passing that tradition along to you as new students transitioning to Lakehead University. We're hoping that we can get a photo with all of you doing the Silent Thunderwolf. So if you're comfortable turning your camera on or keeping it on, that would be fantastic. And just put up your Silent Thunderwolf and we'll get a photo.
I just realized it's wise to get a webcam. I'm gonna get one. Don't worry, I'll join in. Join the webcam club.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'll pass it back over to Kayla, but it was fantastic.